All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to unpack a really fascinating sacred hymn from the Vedic tradition. It's called the Chamakam, and it's a prayer, yeah, but it's probably unlike any prayer you've ever come across.
Right out of the gate, the source text makes this incredibly bold claim. This isn't some quiet, humble prayer, nope. This is an unabashed, full-throated demand for basically everything. And that audacity? That's what makes it so amazing.
So just think about that for a second. Most prayers, they focus on spiritual things or forgiveness, maybe asking for a few specific needs to be met. But what happens when a prayer decides its goal is the entire universe of human experience?
So the name itself, Chamakam, it comes from this relentless repetition of the phrase, cha me, which just means end me. It's like a cosmic shopping list with 347 distinct items. It creates this powerful, rhythmic chant that just builds and builds, starting from our most basic needs all the way up to the highest spiritual goals.
So where does a prayer for everything even begin? Well, it starts in the most logical place you can imagine, with yourself. Before you can really deal with the world, you've got to get your own house in order, right?
So, the hymn kicks off with our most fundamental toolkit, our own bodies and minds. It's asking for everything from the vital breaths to keep us going and a sharp mind, all the way to keen senses and physical strength. It even asks for a long life that leads to a respected old age. The whole idea here is that your body is the foundation, the cornerstone for living a good and virtuous life.
Okay, so with that solid foundation of personal health locked in, the prayer starts to expand outward, into society. It asks for the qualities of a leader, things like eminence, even fame. But what's so cool is how it immediately balances that by asking for the inner qualities you need to handle that influence well. A strong belief, a commitment to truth, and the wisdom to handle whatever life throws at you.
All right, so a sound body, a strong character, check and check. Now the prayer turns its attention to the material world. It starts asking for all the resources you'd need for a really prosperous, abundant life.
And this is where the list gets incredibly specific. It asks for everything from basic food and milk to honey and ghee. It even asks for the simple pleasure of eating and drinking with relatives, which connects that idea of prosperity back to your community. And of course, you've got agriculture, the rains you need for it, precious metals, and even specific grains like paddy, barley, and wheat. And this is where you can really see the prayer trying to create this harmony with the entire environment. It's not just about what humans need. It asks for stone and soil, hills and mountains, trees, metals. It acknowledges the fundamental elements, fire and water. And it even includes all the animals, from the ones in the village to the ones in the forest. This isn't just a prayer for us. It's a prayer for the whole ecosystem.
Okay, so we've asked for personal well-being and worldly abundance. Now the hymn pivots to the sacred. It starts listing, one by one, all the specific tools needed to perform these grand Vedic rituals that were thought to connect humanity to the divine.
Now, to get this next part, we need to know about something called the Soma Yagya. This was a huge, really complex fire sacrifice back in Vedic times. The best way to think of it is like a bridge between our world and the divine realm. And all that stuff the prayer just asked for, a lot of it is literally the ingredient list for this very ritual.
So the prayer basically lays out the whole blueprint. First, it calls on the gods, the cosmic powers that run the universe. Then, it gets super specific, naming all the different cups and vessels for the offerings. It goes on to list the physical tools for the ritual, and finally, it calls upon the sacred knowledge of the Vedas themselves to act as the instruction manual.
This brings us to what I think is one of the most remarkable things about the entire Vedic tradition. See, preserving these hymns wasn't just left up to chance, it was guaranteed by this highly structured, almost mathematical system of chanting.
Yeah, I think it helps to reframe how we think about this. This wasn't just some religious chanting. It was a sophisticated, error-correcting technology. It was designed to pass down thousands of verses over generations without a single word getting lost or changed. Just incredible.
And this table here gives you a little peek at how it worked. If you look at the top, you've got the simplest form, krama. It just links words in these overlapping pairs, 1, 2, 2, 3, and so on. Pretty simple. But then you get to jataneya, which creates this forward, reverse, forward pattern. And then there's gana, which is just this mind-bendingly complex pattern that weaves multiple words together. Each layer was designed to add more checks and balances.
Now, all this complexity wasn't just for making sure they got it right. It was also seen as being spiritually powerful. A single recitation in that Jatachaya style, that middle pattern we saw, was believed to give you 1,000 times the spiritual merit of a standard recitation.
So this wasn't just about preservation, it was a powerful spiritual practice all on its own.
So after this incredible journey, through our own selves, the world around us, the rituals, and even the math of chanting, we finally get to the core philosophy. Why? Why ask for so much? Why list every single material and non-material thing you can possibly imagine?
This slide really gets to the heart of it. Where a lot of spiritual paths teach us to renounce our worldly desires, the Chamakam takes a totally different approach. It doesn't see a separation. To the Chamakam, the material world isn't a distraction from the divine, it's part of the divine. The goal isn't to get rid of your wants, but to ask for everything you need to live a full, purposeful, and good life.
And here it is, the main idea in a single line from the text. If a desire is rooted in dharma, in virtue, in living the right way, then that desire isn't a flaw. It is, in fact, a manifestation of the divine itself. It's just a radically life-affirming way of looking at the world.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The Chamakam provides its own list of 347 items, but it's really a template, a way of thinking about what a complete life even looks like. So if you were to create your own Chi-Me list, asking for everything you need to live well and virtuously, what would be on it? And where would you even start?